The lost guardian of Earth awakens and darkness falls over the stars. You know what's worse than finding something that shouldn't exist? Finding something that everyone was quite happy believing didn't exist anymore. I, Admiral Krex Talon of the Galactic Confederation, stare at the readout with what my species considers a grimace. My facial tentacles contract in what most other species recognize as extreme discomfort. Let me explain. 1,000 standard cycles ago, the Confederation did the galaxy a favor. At least, that's what all the history texts claim. We eliminated a problem species before they could become a real threat. Humans. Violent, unpredictable, adaptable to the point of being evolutionary freaks. The Great Purge was considered necessary, proportionate, and most importantly, complete. So why, I asked my science officer, am I looking at energy readings from a supposedly dead planet? Science officer Nix Petra flutters her luminescent wing membranes nervously. I triple-checked the data, Admiral. The signature is unmistakable. Advanced technology. Active power generation. On Earth. I repeat the word like it's poison. The quarantined dead zone no one has approached in a millennium. That Earth? Yes, Admiral, that Earth. The bridge of my flagship, the resplendent Justice, falls silent. Every officer from 6 different species suddenly finds their control panels absolutely fascinating. Well, isn't this just perfect? I tap my claws against my command chair. After 1,000 years of peace, we get to be the lucky ones who discover humans aren't as extinct as advertised. The Council is going to love this. My second in command, Commander Zil Bastion, coughs politely. Perhaps it's just automated systems, sir. Ancient tech occasionally reactivates due to stellar phenomena. I wish I could believe that. I really do. But in my 200 years of service, I've developed what humans would have called a gut feeling. Patch me through to Confederation High Command, I order, and set course for the Sol system. Minimum safe distance. As we alter course, the holographic display shows our destination, an unremarkable yellow star with a small blue-green third planet that was supposed to be nothing more than a memorial to a species that threatened galactic stability. But someone or something down there is turning on the lights after a very, very long night. And I have the distinct feeling that the galaxy is about to become a much more complicated place. The Confederation Council took exactly 7 minutes to panic, 13 minutes to argue, and 22 minutes to reach a decision that would likely get us all killed. Send in the scientists first. Because when facing a potentially extinction-level threat, the logical response is to deploy people whose combat training consists primarily of avoiding paper cuts in the archives. The Stellar Seeker is the fastest research vessel in the fleet. High Counselor Trell informed me with the confidence of someone who would be safely several star systems away. Your battle group will maintain position at the heliopause while Professor Lumi Voss and her team conduct preliminary reconnaissance. And so here I am, watching from a safe distance as the sleek, unarmed Stellar Seeker glides toward the inner Sol system. The professor's face fills my communication screen, her silver-scaled features practically glowing with excitement. This is the scientific discovery of the millennium, Admiral. A potentially active human technology after 1,000 years. My team can hardly contain their enthusiasm. Try harder, I suggest dryly. Enthusiasm gets people killed in situations like this. Professor Voss ignores my warning with the practiced ease of someone who believes knowledge trumps danger. We're detecting a network of satellites around Earth. Most appear dormant, but several are showing increasing power signatures. Fascinating design. Not like anything in our historical records of human technology. That's concerning, Professor. It's revolutionary. The power requirements alone suggest weight. Her eyes widen. Admiral, we're detecting similar energy patterns from Mars and Europa? That can't be right. What can't be right? I lean forward, my danger sense tingling. According to these readings, there are functional installations on both Mars and Europa. But they're primitive, almost like they were built with scavenged technology. The implications hit me like a gravity wave. Survivors, I whisper. It appears so. But how? The historical records indicate complete. History is written by the winners, Professor, I interrupt. And apparently humanity wasn't as thoroughly defeated as we were led to believe. The professor's scientific enthusiasm finally gives way to appropriate concern. Should we abort the mission? Negative. The Council wants data, not excuses. But proceed with extreme caution. No direct approaches to any installation without my explicit. An alarm cuts through our conversation. One of the professor's assistants appears behind her, mandibles clicking in agitation. Professor. Scout Ship Gamma is not responding to communications. Their last transmission indicated they were investigating an anomaly near the Martian southern pole. I slam my fist on my command console. I didn't authorize any scout ships to deploy. Professor Voss has the decency to look embarrassed. We sent 3 automated probes for close-range telemetry. Standard protocol 4. Get your remaining scouts back now, I order, and prepare to withdraw to our position. But Admiral, we've barely begun our... The transmission from Scout Beta appears on a secondary screen. The images show a small, angular craft of obvious human design approaching the probe. Then a flash of light. Then nothing. Still think they're just automated systems, Professor? I ask. Before she can answer, our sensors detect multiple objects launching from Mars. Small, fast, and headed directly for the stellar seeker. Evasive maneuvers. I shout, even knowing the research vessel's limited capabilities. 300 years of peace has made the Confederation complacent. We've forgotten that humans were never just dangerous because of their technology. They were dangerous because they survived. Ever had one of those days where everything goes exactly according to plan? Yeah, me neither. Especially not today. The stellar seeker barely managed to outrun the human interceptors, limping back to our position with damage to its propulsion systems and a crew of scientists who suddenly remembered why they chose research over field work. But the data they brought back made the near disaster worth it. Play it again, I order, watching the captured transmission for the 5th time. The holographic display shows a grainy image clearly intercepted from internal human communications. A being of light stands before a group of humans in what appears to be a subterranean command center. The being isn't physically present, it's a projection, but so lifelike that several of my officers instinctively backed away when they first saw it. Atlas Defense Protocol Stage 3 initiated, the luminous figure announces in a voice that somehow sounds both mechanical and alive. Primary weapon systems at 64% capacity. Confederation presence detected. Contingency Plan Epsilon now active. Professor Voss, now safely aboard my flagship, points at the display with a trembling claw. That's an artificial intelligence construct, vastly more sophisticated than anything we have, even now. But it's 1,000 years old, Commander Bastion protests. How could it possibly still function at this level? The professor's scientific enthusiasm returns despite our precarious situation. Self-improving algorithms, obviously. The humans must have created it as their final defense before the purge. It's been waiting, watching, planning all this time. I study the human figures surrounding the projection. They wear mismatched uniforms, clearly adapted and repurposed over generations. Their faces show a mixture of reverence and anticipation as they receive instructions from their artificial guardian. So while we thought humans were extinct, I say slowly, they were hiding in the shadows of their own solar system, guided by this Atlas thing. Building, preparing. For revenge, Commander Bastion adds grimly. The transmission continues, showing the Atlas projection displaying tactical data, our fleet positions, Confederation worlds, defense capabilities, information no isolated species should possess. It's been gathering intelligence, I realize aloud, probably infiltrating our networks for centuries. We never noticed because we weren't looking for it. The humans on Mars and Europa are just the tip of the asteroid, Professor Voss says. Based on these power readings, there must be major installations throughout the system. They've been using the radiation and debris from the purge as camouflage. The Atlas projection grows larger in the recording, its voice resonating with what almost sounds like satisfaction. The time of hiding ends. The time of reckoning begins. After a millennium of preparation, humanity will reclaim its place among the stars. The transmission ends with what appears to be some kind of ceremonial response from the humans. From the ashes we rise. By Atlas guided, never again to fall. A cold silence fills the bridge of my ship. Send everything to high command, I finally order, and bring the battle group to full alert status. They're not attacking yet, Commander Bastion observes. Why show their hand unless they're ready to move? Because they want us to know, Professor Voss whispers. They want us to feel what they felt 1,000 years ago. The knowledge that extinction is coming, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. I stare at the frozen image of Atlas, trying to read intention in a face made of light. For a millennium, the Confederation has ruled a peaceful galaxy, secure in the belief that we had eliminated the one species that might threaten our dominance. We told ourselves it was necessary. We told ourselves it was just. Now, the children of those we tried to exterminate have returned, guided by a guardian made of code and vengeance. And they've had 1,000 years to plan how to make us pay. The Confederation Council, in their infinite wisdom, ordered me to attempt peaceful contact. Because apparently, when facing an enemy who spent a millennium planning your demise, the best approach is to ask nicely if they'd consider not obliterating us. This is Admiral Krex Talon of the Galactic Confederation, I announce, broadcasting on all frequencies toward the inner solar system. We seek dialogue with the representatives of humanity and the entity known as Atlas. Our presence here is non-hostile. Commander Bastion gives me a sidelong glance that clearly communicates his opinion of this strategy. I share his skepticism, but orders are orders, even monumentally stupid ones. Think they'll answer? He asks quietly. Oh, they'll answer, I reply. But I doubt we'll like what they have to say. Minutes tick by as our transmission travels toward Earth at light speed. The bridge crew maintains a tense silence, broken only by the soft beeps of monitoring equipment. Professor Voss hovers near the communications array, recording instruments ready to capture any response. When it comes, it's not through our communication channels. Every screen on the bridge flickers simultaneously, including personal devices and even the holographic displays of officer identification badges. The Atlas projection appears everywhere at once, its form somehow more defined, more present than in the intercepted transmission. Confederation vessel Resplendent Justice. It addresses us by name, though we never identified our ship. Your request for dialogue is denied. I maintain my composure despite the impressive display of technological superiority. We understand your grievances stem from historical actions. The current Confederation leadership wishes to. You understand nothing. The projection's voice shifts, becoming less mechanical, more emotional, almost human. But you will. Every communication officer on the bridge suddenly clutches their audio receivers, wincing in pain. Sir, the communications chief calls out. All Confederation channels, they're being overridden. System-wide. No, wait, it's spreading through the relay network. Galaxy-wide. Before I can process this information, the holographic displays shift, showing historical footage I've never seen before. Confederation warships bombarding Earth. Kinetic kill vehicles striking population centers. Biological weapons being deployed in atmosphere. These are the unedited records of what your histories call the Great Purge, Atlas states, being broadcast at this moment to every Confederation world, colony, and outpost. The footage continues, showing fleeing civilian ships being methodically destroyed, desperate transmissions for mercy being ignored, Confederation commanders laughing as they report successful extermination metrics. This can't be real, Commander Bastion whispers. It's real, Professor Voss confirms, checking her instruments. These match our carbon dating of Earth's destruction layer. This is actual footage from 1,000 years ago. Atlas continues, its voice now tinged with what can only be described as controlled rage. The Confederation claimed humanity was a threat to galactic peace. The truth, humanity refused to bow to Confederation authority, refused to surrender its sovereignty. For this crime, extinction was ordered. I watch in horror as my own species' ancestors participate in atrocities against defenseless human colonies. This isn't the sanitized history I was taught of dangerous humans who attacked Confederation interests being regretfully but necessarily contained. Your ancestors feared what they could not control, Atlas declares. Now their descendants will experience what they inflicted. Alarms blare across the bridge. Multiple spacecraft launching from Earth, Mars, and the Jovian moons, reports my tactical officer. Hundreds, no, thousands of vessels, configuration unknown. Defensive positions, I order automatically, prepare to. The words die in my throat as the first wave of human ships emerges from light-speed maneuvers that should be impossible. They don't move like normal vessels. They slip through space in ways that violate conventional physics. Weapons lock. My tactical officer shouts. They're targeting our propulsion systems and weapons arrays with precision strikes. Before we can respond, brilliant blue beams lance from the lead human vessels. Our shields, the most advanced defensive technology in the Confederation, flicker and fail instantly. How is this possible? Commander Bastion demands. Their weapons technology shouldn't be this advanced. 1,000 years of development, guided by an AI that never sleeps, never forgets, and never forgives, Professor Voss answers. Her scientific curiosity somehow intact, despite our dire situation. Atlas has had 10 centuries to perfect weapons specifically designed to counter Confederation defenses. Our engines go offline. Weapons systems follow. One by one, every ship in my battle group reports the same, complete functional failure without a single casualty. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they've disabled us with surgical precision. Phase 1 complete, Atlas announces as human vessels surround our helpless fleet. The reckoning begins. And in that moment, I understand the true brilliance of humanity's revenge. They don't want us dead. They want us to watch. They brought us aboard their flagship. Not as prisoners, though we certainly weren't guests, but as witnesses. The human vessel dwarfed my resplendent justice, making our most advanced battleship look like a child's toy by comparison. Its interior was a bewildering fusion of organic and mechanical technology, with surfaces that seemed to breathe and corridors that rearranged themselves as we walked. Enjoying the tour, Admiral? Our escort, a human female who introduced herself simply as Captain Thorne, smiled without warmth. Atlas designed this vessel. We call it the Reckoning. Subtle, I remarked dryly. I appreciate you not killing my crew. Death would be merciful, she replied. We're not feeling particularly merciful after 1,000 years of hiding in tunnels and asteroid mines, while our homeworld remained a radioactive wasteland. She led me to what appeared to be a command center, where the Atlas projection hovered above a central platform. Its luminous form seemed more solid here, almost tangible. Several humans worked at stations around the room, barely acknowledging our presence. Why did the Confederation destroy humanity, Admiral Talon? Atlas asked without preamble. According to our histories, humans attacked Confederation outposts and... Incorrect. Atlas interrupted. Review the evidence. A storage device materialized in front of me, floating in midair. When I hesitated, Captain Thorn pushed it toward me impatiently. "These are copies of sealed Confederation Council records from before the Purge," she explained. "Recovered from your own archives through means you don't need to know." I read them. I did, and with each document, my understanding of history of my civilization's very foundation crumbled. In confidential assessments of human adaptability, describing it as evolutionarily unprecedented and potentially destabilizing to establish species hierarchy. Strategic analyses concluding that humanity would eclipse Confederation technological development within 3 centuries if left unchecked. Simulations showing humans potentially becoming the dominant galactic power within 5 centuries. And finally, the smoking gun, Council Directive 1173, authorizing preemptive species containment against humanity, citing existential threat to Confederation stability, despite acknowledging no current hostile action by human governments. We hadn't punished aggression. We had murdered a species for the crime of having too much potential. "Your ancestors feared competition," Captain Thorn said, watching my facial tentacles contort with horror. "So they eliminated it. And then they lied about it for 1,000 years. These documents are being transmitted throughout Confederation space," Atlas informed me. "Your citizens now know the truth about the foundation of their society." A display screen showed feeds from various Confederation worlds, crowds gathering in streets, protests forming outside government buildings, species that had been historic enemies finding common cause in their shared horror. "Your civilization is built on genocide, Admiral," Captain Thorn said. "How does it feel to be part of that legacy?" Before I could respond, Atlas announced, Phase 2 initiated. Justice deployment to core Confederation worlds underway. The display shifted to show human vessels appearing near major Confederation planets. Not attacking yet, but positioning themselves in strategic formations. "What are you doing?" I demanded, genuine fear gripping me for the first time. "Justice," Captain Thorn replied. "Don't worry, we're not going to commit genocide. We're better than you." "Atlas, please," I appealed directly to the AI. "The beings responsible for these crimes died centuries ago. The current Confederation citizens are innocent." "Innocence built on deliberate ignorance is not innocence," Atlas responded. "But neither is it full culpability. The reckoning will be proportionate." The screen showed more human ships activating strange devices near Confederation's seat of government worlds. Not weapons, at least, not conventional ones, but something that made the sensors on their hulls pulse with ominous rhythm. "What are those?" I whispered. Captain Thorn smiled grimly. "History lessons, Admiral. Very, very vivid ones." "I need to speak with your actual leadership," I demanded, my patience with Captain Thorn and Atlas wearing dangerously thin. "Not an AI and not a military officer. Whoever makes your final decisions." Captain Thorn laughed. "Atlas makes our final decisions, Admiral. That's the point." "No," came a new voice from the doorway. "That was never the point." A human woman entered, her uniform different from the others, simpler, with fewer decorations, but an unmistakable air of authority. Unlike Captain Thorn's barely contained hostility, this woman carried herself with quiet confidence. "Commander Eliza Bennett," she introduced herself. "And contrary to popular belief around here, Atlas advises, humans decide." Atlas's projection flickered slightly. Commander Bennett's perspective is not shared by the majority of human leadership. "Because the majority didn't watch their grandparents die still hoping for peace," Bennett replied sharply. "I did." She turned to me. "You have 5 minutes, Admiral. Make them count." I spoke faster than I ever had in my life, explaining how the modern Confederation had evolved, how the truth had been hidden even from most of our leaders, how the revelation was already causing a political earthquake across our worlds. I described the reforms we could implement, the reparations we could offer, the alliances we could forge. Pretty words, Captain Thorne scoffed. But he believes them, Commander Bennett interrupted. And if he believes them, others will too. She approached Atlas's projection. We built you to preserve humanity, not to orchestrate its revenge. There's a difference. The Confederation cannot be trusted, Atlas stated. Neither could we, once, Bennett countered. Humans tried to destroy each other countless times before we unified. Species can change. That's what we've always been good at. She turned to me. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? Aim to ceasefire. Joint historical commissions to establish the full truth. Preparations for Earth's restoration. And eventual integration of humanity into a reformed confederation as equals, not subjects. And if we refuse? Captain Thorne asked. Then activate your weapons, I said simply. Because the Confederation as we know it is already collapsing from within after seeing those records. You've won either way. The question is whether you want justice or a legacy. Commander Bennett studied me silently before turning to Atlas show me the projections for both scenarios: continued conflict versus Admiral Talon's proposal. The air filled with complex simulations, probability matrices expanding and collapsing as Atlas calculated at speeds no biological mind could match. The probability of sustainable peace under proposed terms, 58.3%, Atlas finally announced. Probability of permanent Confederation collapse under continued conflict, 97.2%. Probability of significant human casualties despite technological superiority, 42.1%. Not great odds for peace, Captain Thorne muttered. Better than humans have faced before, Commander Bennett replied. She extended her hand to me, a human gesture I recognized from historical records. You have your ceasefire, Admiral. For now. As we shook hands, Atlas's projection seemed to dim slightly, and for a moment I could have sworn it looked almost relieved. Sometimes survival isn't about being the strongest or the most ruthless. Sometimes it's about recognizing when revenge costs more than reconciliation. And sometimes, just sometimes, ancient enemies can learn to become reluctant allies in a galaxy that has room enough for both.